It's National Signing Day for football teams all over the country, and we're here with head football coach Jason Burianek of Missouri Baptist University. I'm Harry Schroeder. And this is an exciting day, isn't it? Is it like Christmas for football coaches that are unwrapping their presents? And
kind of feels that way, for all of us. I think what it is it's kind of the culmination of a lot of hard work. We start working on the next year's class in April and May, and then you get to February. So it's a long, drawn-out process. You're meeting hundreds and hundreds of kids, and so to see what your end result is, it's kind of the culmination of a lot of hard work, and then you can also see the future coming together as well.
On your Twitter thing, you've been putting it out brick by brick. We're building brick by brick. Tell us the backstory to that.
Well, really it just kind of hit me the other night, and I started thinking about, we've always talked about laying the foundation of a program. We've always talked about how this is a building process, and for whatever reason, I was sitting there and I started thinking about, I think I was talking to a recruit, and I was talking to them about how a year ago we took recruits up and there was a flat piece of dirt and there was some footings poured, and we showed them a picture of what's going to be. And watching that process, the guys that built from Holland Construction that built our new facility literally laid that building brick by brick. And they were out there, and it's a cinder block building, and they were literally watching them pass buckets of concrete and pass the bricks along, and all of a sudden a building comes up. So it just kind of fit, and this is a big year for us. So it just kind of came together, and I asked the staff, they said, yeah, we love it. So we rolled out the hashtag brick by brick. We're sounding really smart using that hashtag.
In this Instagram and Twitter world, do you still have to sit by the fax machine and wait for the thing to come across the fax machine?
Well, the NCAA coaches do, and we have a little bit, but not nearly as much as the NCAA coaches. But yeah, that was something that was brought up on ESPN today, of that it's kind of odd that we're in all this technology and we're still sitting by a fax machine. But yeah, we are,
So in the last couple of years, you've signed much bigger classes, a little more, maybe more selective this year, and a few less this year. Why?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. We can be more selective this year. We have not had to fill in, our first year we had 43 kids on campus, and we had to fill into 85 or 90 in order to be ready to play in 2014. Last year, we had to fill in a lot because there was some attrition, guys who weren't fully bought into what we were trying to build here. And so that left us having to fill in a big hole. And this year, that was something we really recruited to in the class of 2015 was, hey, we need guys who are going to be here. We need guys who love football, love the process. And it paid off. We have 83 guys that are going through spring off-season workouts now. So that leaves a much smaller gap that we have to fill in, and we can go about this process meeting needs more than just trying to get guys who are going to be able to go out and compete for us.
Let's talk about those needs. I know that you and I have talked often. You guys aren't big enough, strong enough, et cetera, at the point of attack. Right there at the line, on either side of the line. How are you able to address that in this class?
Well, there's no doubt. When we sat down as a staff, we put literally every position that's up on the field up on our big whiteboard, and before we built all the names that were there, and we said, what are our number one needs? What's our number two need? And really the way we broke it down was we needed to get better on the offensive line, and we need to get better on the defensive line. And that's not a knock on the guys we have, but there were some games where we went into where we had 5 or 6 healthy offensive line, and we can't do that. You're playing with fire doing that, and we've got to have some depth. So whether it was a guy who could come in and compete for that job and push the guys that we already have, or a guy that can come in and give us some of that depth and develop into a really good player, that's where football is won and lost. Everybody, in talking pro football, everybody talks about how Tom Brady is probably the best quarterback to ever play, and they lost that playoff game because of their offensive line. And that's where it starts. It doesn't matter what level you're at, you've got to be good, like you said, at the point of attack. So that's where we started our focus, and then we're going to build out from there.
Before we talk about specific positions, let's talk about some of the high school players. It's a national letter of intent signing day, and so let's talk about high school players. There are some transfers, some junior college guys coming in, but let's talk about some of the high school players.
we got a great group of guys. The staff, I've been so proud of them. This year has been unlike any other recruiting because we have a new facility that we can walk recruits in, and that has made a world of difference. This is the first year since starting the program that we've had consistency on the staff. And had a full group of guys out there recruiting. And what you see and what we're going to unveil of our signing class is going to show that, I think. Got a really good group of guys, a lot of talent, guys from all over, guys we recruited nationally a little bit, guys from Michigan, Tennessee, Florida, California, Oklahoma, and then we have, kind of the meat and potatoes of the Missouri and Illinois type.
So let's talk about some of those local kids. Like, there's no question that in the St. Louis area, the Southwestern Conference is the best football conference going. Yeah. And you got an all-conference running back out of the Southwestern Conference. Talk about Kendall Davis.
I'll tell you, when we got that call and he said he was going to be a Spartan, I still remember we were walking around and I just poured a cup of coffee. It was early in the morning. I think they were called off school, so I told Coach Bowman, get him on the phone, let's talk to him, find out what's going on. And he said, Coach, I'm going to be a Spartan. And the place just erupted. It was a cool feeling. We really feel like Kendall is a game changer. He's does a little bit of what William Pratt did for us this year, in the fact that he's got exceptional speed, got quickness, is a very multi-dimensional player, and I think that's going to be a theme of what we're really trying to find. Guys who can play multiple positions. Because of injury, we might need to have him be moved, so he could be a wide receiver, he could be a slot, he could be a corner if we needed him. But we're bringing him in as a running back, and we'll see where he'll really find his home. But he can do so many things. And like you said, he's first team all-conference. He got overlooked because of his size. He's not the tallest guy, but Coach Bowman had a relationship with him from the off-season workout program that he used to be running prior to joining us, and we tapped into that and got us a really good player.
Listen, if you don't know, the Southwestern Conference is the elite athletic conference in virtually every sport in the St. Louis area. He set the school record for the 40-yard dash for the track team. He's 5'7", about 170, and he can jet. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch him play next year.
We actually got another first-team all-conference kid out of Southwestern in Isaiah King here late too, a wide receiver from Belleville East. So we actually landed 2 first-team all-conference players.
This is shocking news.
Out of the Southwest Conference, and that is really big deal.
It's a gigantic deal when you can get to the best conference and get some of the best players, and you did grabbed a couple of them there. I want to come back to the Missouri side. Devin Griffin, all-conference guy, safety out of Parkway North. Talk a little bit about him.
Devin's a great young man. I mean, from day one, has been up several times, come up, watch practice. To me, obviously you want to protect your backyard, so to speak, and we consider that the Missouri, kind of that 60, 100-mile radius of campus, but you're really not going to get any more in our backyard than Parkway North. I mean, it is right here. Devin's an exceptional talent. We have a great relationship with Coach Bunton up there, and we are really excited to bring him in our secondary. He's just, again, an all-around athlete.
I want to talk a little bit more about some of the local guys, but you got some pretty big-name high school guys from around the country as well. Who are some of those guys?
Well, several guys that are standouts. We talked about offense, defensive line. Out of Chaminade High School, Oscar Madrigal, who's a defensive tackle out there. This kid is just unbelievable. He's explosive off the ball, extremely strong. Has really been a Spartan since the day Coach Sweat walked in and met him. It's been a fun process getting to know him. Several of his teammates are joining us as
Coming along.
Yeah, Ray Campos, a center. So again, another really talented young guy. Both of those guys, they played on the offensive line. Oscar, we're going to start on the defensive line, whereas Ray, we've got plans as a center or a guard. And then Stephen Lopez out of California as well. He went to Bishop Amat, and these guys are playing in the top league in Southern California. Bishop Amat, Chaminade, they're playing the modern day that everybody knows nationally. Mm-hmm. They're playing in that type of league. They're seeing great competition. Steven is a big barrel-chested offensive lineman and just such a great kid. Actually is really interested in the broadcasting part, so we talked a lot about doing this show.
I'll take him under my wing.
Absolutely. So great young man. Another guy from Andrew DeMoss from Michigan, a linebacker that we feel will come in and be a really good player for us, that we actually offered him as a junior, thinking he was a senior, and then stayed on him and ended up signing him. And then Christian Perez out of Palm Beach Gardens down in Florida are some of the guys. And there's a couple others from out of state, but those are some of the guys that we're really excited about.
When I look at your list, and you've got a young man, a lineman from Vianney, you've got a lineman from Clayton. We've talked about some of these guys. What I noticed is winner. Programs that are winning. Those, I know the coaches you mentioned, Coach Bunton and Coach Gladstone and Coach Day at Clayton. These are winners. You've got players from winning programs. That makes a difference, doesn't it?
Well, that's where it starts. You've got to know how to win, and that's something we talked about throughout the course of the season. Is just our young guys, they didn't know how to win yet. So those are some of the pieces, kind of the intangible things that we really looked at hard. Was guys that came out of programs that knew how to work, guys that came out of programs that knew how to win, and it doesn't change. You know, when they come to us, if they're trained, they're going to be successful. And we feel like those are programs where those young men are trained. They're from great schools academically. They're from great programs. The coaches there do a great job. So that's a big point of emphasis when we're surveying, because when you've got 200 or 300 kids that you're looking at, you've got to start splitting hairs. And those are things that really make kids rise to the top, in our opinion.
I've watched you move a guy maybe from the offensive side to the defensive side, and so getting guys that play both ways matters, doesn't it? I mean, like Robbie Owens from Clayton, he played both ways, and Stratman at Vianney, he played both ways, and so you've got guys. You mentioned some of the guys in California, both ways. They might come in as a defensive tackle and end up playing offensive guard or something like that, but they have that kind of versatility.
Sure, because one of the weird things about the NAIA is we're limited on how many players we can put on the field, whereas the NCAA Division II, Division I, they're held by how many scholarships they can give out. We're not. We can give out as many scholarships as we want, but we can only play 24 full scholarships when they add them all up. So it changes things for us. As we get later in the season, if we're approaching that 24, if we have an injury, we can't necessarily play a new kid. So we've got to have guys that are versatile. We've got to have guys that can play both sides of the ball. If we have injuries at a position, we can fill them in. Case in point, Isaiah King, Devin Griffin, all these guys that we're recruiting is, again, and then just the fact that they're athletic. You know, that says a lot. If a guy in high school at some of these bigger schools, if they're playing them both ways, that tells you that the coaches trust them and that they're one of the best at that position.
Southwestern Conference, MCC on the Missouri side, the suburban South and North, all those kinds of different programs. Let's head to the junior college ranks a little bit, some of the transfers. I know you're very high. You've been talking to me for weeks about a guy named Keenan Savage. Talk about him.
Love him. I mean, he is exactly what we need, because he's an older guy, has experience. He's going to come in and play strong side linebacker for us. He is the guy that is going to bring leadership to the program, and we're starting to see that. But he is a high caliber guy. He hates to lose, and if you read his Twitter, we were kind of laughing about it today. On his Twitter, it says, "Born a Savage," and his name is Keenan Savage. And then the next thing it says is, "Meet me at the line of scrimmage." And that's what he is about. I mean, he is a great young man, polite, but when he puts the pads on, the switch flips. And he doesn't accept mediocrity from anybody. It was day one of conditioning. He's out there pushing guys. So we're extremely excited about what he brings to the table, and you're going to hear his name a lot in the fall.
We talked about the line and a young man you're very excited about as well from Santa Rosa Community College, Jordan Hall. Talk about him.
Yeah, Jordan is a guy that played with Eddie Calderon at the community college level, at the junior college level. He's a huge body, 6'6", 325, 330 pounds. Really good feet, long arms. He's an older guy, was a former basketball, played basketball for a couple years, and then switched over to football. And we're very excited about what he can do. We've got to get him coached, get him some things tweaked in his stance and in how he does things, because he's only been playing football for about 2 years. But with his size and with his strength and ability, he makes us better on the outside of our line.
At some point, you're done. What I mean is, but I know you're still working. You're not quite done. Tell us about that process.
Well, right now, what we've got to do is just start creating some depth. we've got to look at some of the positions now that we can get a little more depth at. Skill guys are guys that, I hate to say it, they're kind of a dime a dozen. We'll be able to find some of those guys that'll come in and be good football players that we can develop them. We're still looking at a quarterback. We're still looking to, we have a couple offers out, actually a couple California guys that we have offers out there that are offensive linemen that we're waiting on. And, really we feel like we're in a good spot. There's a local quarterback that we've been recruiting heavy, and I know he's very interested in Missouri Baptist and just trying to kind of cross his T's and dot his I's. But if we land him, we'll be really excited about what he can provide and really come in at that position and challenge or, be a guy down the road. So there's a couple things out there, some pieces that we're still waiting on. But overall, I feel like if we were to end right now and just kind of fill in from now, we'd be in a really good shape.
I did this show a year ago, and you were like the guys you signed a year ago.
Yeah.
But you really like these guys.
I do. I think it's a different caliber of guy. What we're seeing right now of the guys that are here is they're just bought in, and the guys that are on in our off-season workouts, they are busting their rear ends to get better. And there's this, you can just go out and feel it every day that you go out and watch that they're tired of losing. They want to make this something to be really proud of. And I think what we did is we challenged those guys. Okay, the guys that are coming in, they may not start. And everything we tell these recruits is, hey, it's up to you. You come in and earn a spot. But what we did is we challenged the guys that are here. And that's as much of anything that excites me is the idea of how much competition there's going to be out on that field. And the guys that go out there are going to be really good football players, and they're going to be guys who have earned it. We still got to get them their stripes. This is a good group. They're going to be young again. But the nice thing is, going into this year is we have some older pieces that can protect them until they're really ready to roll.
So exciting here on the campus of Missouri Baptist University. Coach B, congratulations just on a great class.
Yeah, I mean, all the credit in the world goes out to the staff. I'm kind of the guy who sits in front of the camera and talks about them, and I'm the guy who maybe makes some last-minute phone calls and visits with them when they're on a trip.
Come on.
I'm the closer, but as you well know, you're a big baseball fan. You don't get to the closer unless that guy's pitching 7-8 innings to begin with, and our staff did that. They did a great job. They were throwing heat all the time. We were. Even on some of the guys that we lost to Division I or Division II schools, we were some of the first schools in on those kids in general. Very few other schools beat us in. In fact, some close friends of ours that are at Division II schools just said, it seems like everywhere I go, I've followed you in. And that's a good thing. And that's a credit to our staff and how hard they've worked. And I couldn't be more proud of the guys and the guys that are here on our staff and the guys that are playing and the new Spartans. It's going to be a fun time moving forward.
That'll do it for this edition of recruiting and those kinds of things related to Missouri Baptist football. Listen, come back to the website often as more and more of these signings, we roll them out for you right here at MBUSpartans.com. You've been watching the National Letter of Intent Signing Day Show with Coach Jason Burianek. I'm Harry Schroeder. Thanks for watching here on the Spartan Digital Network.